It's been quite a long time since last I spoke, just before lunch. But I think I can hold my own, so I'll carry on. First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Donfred, Mr. Wright, Sheikh Ramzi, and Mr. Marsh. It is a distinguished audience, and ladies and gentlemen, it's such an honor and privilege to be speaking on this occasion at the UK Forum for Cultural Diplomacy. Speaking as someone who's not often valued for my outrightness and diplomacy. I think I'm always diplomatic. I think I've grown that way, and has nothing to do with being a member of the Lords either. I want to say what a privilege it is to follow my noble friend, Lord Fox. I've always admired him, and he holds the House with, in highest. I mean, he's regarded very highly, and I think it's. I don't know. I can say I've become a fan. What can I say? I've been in the House for 26 years. I don't know how many years you've been, but yeah, it's often you hear people and making a contribution, and it's really wonderful. So it is, of course, it is on a subject that resonates so deeply with the essence of our shared human experience. This one, is a very such personal perspective. And I was really glad that Lord Fox has put this into an intellectual context, so I don't have to do the hard work, because I didn't last night, which is when I was writing it, and these are my personal references. I think we are definitely at one of the crossroads of many millions of crossroads that many of us would have experienced in our lifetime, marked by escalating global conflicts and fractured international norms and rising tensions that has already been felt by some of the things that has been said, and these are challenging many of our sort of very deep personal values that we hold so dearly. And I really appreciated Mr. Glass's contribution to make reference to the efforts, and remembering the children, as I constantly try and do. I have 5 children and 5 grandchildren, and I think that if I deviate from what is their future, then I think that I deviate from the future of all of our children. So that's how personally it is for me. So anyone's children are my children. I permanently go and say to them. And I have, in the 26 years, I have acquired quite a number of children as they go through in the House, as Lord Fox will tell you, in our care. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, as Lord Fox and others have said, it is also divided by conflicts and wars. And so cultural diplomacy stands potentially as a bridge that can unite people and nation, foster some understanding and mutual respect, and nurture a global community built on shared purpose and common aspirations. Because I seriously question at all time what values are, whether it's British values, American values, what those values are. And that's why I've chosen the words very deliberately about our common aspiration and common purpose, shared purpose. At its core, cultural diplomacy is a practice, exchanges, and initiatives such as to promote understanding, dialogue, cooperation between nations. We, of course, have an incredible institutions of the British Council as an arm of creating diplomacy, for examples. It transcends political ideologies, economic interests, and historical grievances, appealing directly to the hearts and minds of people through art, music, literature, language, and tradition. Diplomacy offers a unique pathway to connect on a deeply human level. Consider the education and cultural contribution of the millions of international students, as has been mentioned across the globe, that crosses our path. The impact of an exhibition that traveled across borders, showcasing the heritage of creativity of a nation. Imagine the conversation sparked up by this, that exhibition of film festivals, highlighting, other diversity of our lives from all across the globe. These are not just culturalized events, they are opportunities for people to engage with one another, to see world through another lens, and to appropriate the richness of each other's humanity. Much of these interactions are profoundly interrupted by global and national conflicts and living wars. At home and elsewhere, all of us are witnessing significant unrest, breakdown of civic and public order. Therefore, the task of fostering peace and understanding across nations and people have never been more urgent. We must stand tall to combat the incumbency of further escalations, killing fields, more killing fields, or sowing the seed of or the security seed of a global diplomacy and nurturing unity within and between our society as norms is in profound danger. I say this as someone from a generation of grafters, and I'm an activist, and believe that striving as a collective across the aisle within different political affiliations and groups can achieve justice and peace for the good of consensus, of common good, and that as a collective, we could challenge strongly the violation of laws and injustices, both at home and elsewhere. It is my contention that cultural diplomacy has to thrive, rooted within communities and local communities, which has the potential of transforming global relations and agenda at a time when geopolitical tensions and conflicts often dominate headlines. Creating a space for dialogue has the potential to break down stereotypes, dispel myths, and challenge prejudices, and fostering more nuanced understanding of respect, each other, and also a powerful tool towards peace building. Of course, we cannot ignore immersive impact of many such global conflicts and wars that is created on our doorstep. We have seen millions on our streets protesting, and I do recognize that none of us can profess to create dialogue until there is a resemblance of hope for peace in our world. We cannot underestimate the potential potential and the challenges as a result of new generation of activists. I think that it's been referred to as the young people who are leading their voices on geopolitical platforms, on conflicts, on economy, uncertainty, and spread of misinformation. Significantly, and cultural homogenization, making it harder for us to see each other as shared partners or partners in shared future. This toxic environment has spilled over into our international relationship, and the bond between nations are ever so strained. I mean, of course, I am 65 and I never mind sharing my age, and so I'm not young, but I don't think I have experienced anything like this, even as a person who was who came to this country as product of wars in Bangladesh. And look at the leaders of Bangladesh. I mean, they're between age 18 and 20, 25. So, I suppose some circles go wrong. And I think that, these, the once, institutions that were sort of regarded as bedrock of global cooperation are threatened by a handful of those who I believe are putting the whole humanity at risk. And I note what Lord Fox has said about international institutions and either their reliability, if I was not going to be kind and say question their credibility. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's time to redefine many of these aspects of our international relationship. In such climate, the role of diplomacy is tenuous, although most of us present here screaming out for peace, to build bridges, understanding, and trust. I am too frustrated with pace of change. Decades of rebuilding trust will need all of our strengths and resources because we are back to zero square. Of course, there are also excellent examples of post-conflict dialogues and programs that have aided healing and restoring sense of identity and promoting reconciliation. Significant work with traumatized children in Rohingya camp, and by all account, international account, they are Myanmar citizens and not Bangladeshis, and elsewhere have used music and art programs collectively, effectively, in regions affected by wars, not just in Myanmar and other places. Communities together and work towards developing trust and rebuilding trust. I'm almost at an end. In today's digital age, and I've been chairing some all-party parliamentary committee on digital, including metaverse, and I think that your art and everything, my mind was just like racing, the potential of using metaverse as creative space for disseminating that information and allowing others also to do this work. So I think the cultural diplomacy in that age, in this time, and of virtual exchanges and online presence have made it possible to reach a wider audience and engage with people across the globe in real time. Emergence of this new digital connectivity does offer us unprecedented opportunity for mutual exchange and provide hope of harnessing the last straw of diplomacy to promote international cooperation and ultimately achieve global peace. I hope that emerging leadership is more inclusive, diverse, and rooted in authenticity by promoting cultural content that is both reflective of our tradition, which also respect and celebrate the differences as strength. And that is a significant challenge, as Meta has invested alone I think 50 billion pounds or something, writing up history in the metaverse. And I think, the history of slavery and the effect of global colonization must not be written out of that history by the same old men with immense wealth and control. It is another opportunity to promote cultural content that is both reflective of our tradition and innovative. We can create authentic perspectives and respect and celebrate the differences that will give our young people, my children, your children, my grandchildren, a sense of belonging to which they have to every time be challenged on constantly. And I think as British citizens, that cannot be good for their mental well-being. So the responsibility of nations, while cultural diplomacy is a powerful tool at the government level, economic and safety harness, food security, and other family services must be given equal weight. National and local governing institutions must approach cultural diplomacy with humility and genuine desire to build trust, cooperation, and actively countering fear and suspicion. So each of us, I believe, are ambassadors of culture and the architect of understanding and the champions of the world united in its diversity. Together we can make a cultural diplomacy embedded in respect and international laws, which is a cornerstone of a global relations and beacon of hope for future generations who will uphold rights of others equally for all. And I'm really, really grateful for your patience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Baroness Uddin. Thank you. I know we have broken into lunch, but I am going to ask, are there any questions for the Baroness? Thank you.
Hello, Baroness. Being a United Nations Peace Ambassador myself, which we strive very much for peace in the world. One of my questions to you is with artificial intelligence and the metaverse, which we need to do. The problem we have currently is the metaverse is what Web 2 didn't complete. So in the wars and what we're facing out with the unrest and in British culture and what we saw a few weeks ago, it was absolutely awful how people were treated in voices that was not explained correctly by using the correct vocabulary. How do you perceive that if we're not dealing with it now, with mental health, with these things that these robots and artificial intelligence are looking at to create, that we're depending more on that, are we not creating even a worse situation by not, looking at what we're dealing with now, putting measures in for trauma, to overcome trauma, to show so we're not teaching the artificial intelligence world, creating even a worse world than what the internet has created?
Thank you.
Well, at least that's a 7 billion human pounds worth of questions. I think that because it concerns each and every one of us. I mean, Lord Fox would be able to tell you with much greater authority, given his breadth of experiences. But from what I observed through the online safety bill, I mean, as someone who is a practicing social worker and child protection officer, I mean, I left that job quite some time ago, but during that process, we saw, I personally dealt with the horrors of, child sexual abuse of very, very young infants. But for that to be available on 40 billion websites for others to see in that way, in a degrading way, not just for the family, but also for children, and sometimes people don't know. To answer your question with regards to AI, I think we slightly miss the opportunity to ensure that we encompass all of the new emerging technology rather than Prime Minister just constantly referring to AI. Because AI doesn't make any sense without all the other aspects of new technology. And the fact is that no content is made by AI or robots. It's hand-made by, hand-created, mind-created by individuals. So the content is as only good as the person who are creating these information or vision or visuals. So I think it's a lot of people say, why aren't we legislating? I think that before we say we legislate, something else has come up. And I think that maybe what we need to do is get a set of standard. And as you know, even online safety bill, there are huge potential anomalies and gaps that we are not going to be able to address. So I think that there are lots of work to do. There, of course, we must exercise our, offices of everywhere to ensure that children are guided, that they're safeguarded, that the education materials that are available are widely available. And we have to skill our next generation to ensure that those jobs also are shared. Unlike Web 2 and all that has gone before, it wasn't a system where the massive population had access to them. So I think that it's really important that data ownership is a real issue and bugbearer for me. But anyway, another time.
Total minefield. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop the questions there. With respect, it is the Muslim time for prayer, and also we've encroached into our lunchtime. I want to say thank you to Sheikh Ramzi for providing lunch for all of us today, and thank you, Baroness Uddin.